Mutagen Man is back. Yeah, that Mutagen Man, the brain in a jar nightmare fuel from the old cartoon. It's been 34 years since we've last seen him, or at least this version of him. And somehow IDW decided, you know what this nostalgic, lighthearted comic needs? It needs some body horror. I guess it's the perfect timing for Halloween. So yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures continued, issue number 30. This issue brings back one of the weirdest, creepiest, in my opinion, and kind of saddest villains from the 1987 cartoon, Mutagen Man. So we open with Seymour Gutz, and yeah, that's really his name, because the 80s weren't exactly subtle when it came to that kind of stuff. Now, if you don't remember Seymour, or just never watched the OG cartoon series, he first appeared, I believe, in season 5. He was a nerdy delivery guy who stumbled into Shredder and Krang's lab while they were cooking up a fresh batch of mutagen, and Seymour ends up basically pulling a Joker by falling into a vat of goo, only instead of coming out with white skin, he came out with no skin and no body. Everything was destroyed except for his brain, his eyes, his mouth, and his spinal cord, which is just nightmarish to think about. So our villains end up slapping together a containment suit just to keep him alive, and there was a twist in that Seymour could temporarily shapeshift into different forms. Just the only form he can't shapeshift is his original form. That's basically the origin of Mutagen Man. Equal parts tragic and gross. And as a kid, I thought it was just kind of weird. As an adult, this is just pure David Cronenberg level body horror. I mean, if you think about it, it's a story about a man who literally lost his entire body and is now just a sentient organ floating in the jar. And the funny thing is, while I didn't really have a problems with Mutagen Man himself as a kid, I did have nightmares about the whole brain in a jar thing. That fear mostly came from watching RoboCop 2, as well as I think it was one of the Tales of the Crypt had a was it Tales of the Crypt? There was one of those horror anthologies that had like a whole brain in the jar story. The whole brain in a jar thing is just nightmarish to me. Like, I think that would be worse than dying, would just be living as a brain in a jar. Anyway, I've kind of rambled about that enough. The original episode ended with the turtles curing him, and Seymour got to live happily ever after as a regular dude. Until now. Because like I mentioned earlier, we started off this issue with Seymour on the date. He's back to his human self, trying to live a normal life. But then all of a sudden we see him clutching his head in pain, and boom, he morphs right back into Mutagen Man. Romantic dinner ruined. 10 out of 10 first date story though. Imagine going on a date and your date just immediately turns into Mutagen Man. That'd be pretty crazy. That'd be a story to tell for ages. So yeah, a waiter comes up to check on him, and in a panic, Seymour grabs his arm and yells, "Don't touch me," but it's too late. Weird energy surges from Seymour, and the waiter is immediately mutated into a Birdman creature. And it turns out that Seymour's mutation not only is a curse back, but it's evolved. He can't change himself anymore. Now anyone he touches gets mutated into some kind of horrifying monster. Congratulations, Seymour. You've gone from tragic accident to a walking bioweapon. That's when we cut to April O'Neil doing her nightly news report. She's on scene outside the restaurant talking about this mysterious mutation incident. And in typical Ninja Turtles fashion, the Turtles are watching the broadcast from home and they recognize Seymour's name. And Splinter says he thought Seymour was cured. And Donnie's like he was, but now he's mutating other people. So yeah, they immediately get up to find him before things get out of hand. And of course, who else is watching the news? Shredder and Krang. Shredder sees this as not as a tragedy, but as a business opportunity. He basically tells Krang, forget wasting our precious mutagen on random animals. This guy can create an army for us for free. It's a perfectly evil, logical plan. So the Turtles, being the heroes that they are, head to TCRI to get help from Professor McGuffin. And that name, I still shake my head every time I hear it. But hey, it makes sense. I mean, we literally have a character named Seymour Gutz whose body organs you can see. So yeah. Anywho, the professor confirms that these mutations aren't permanent and can be reversed, but they need to find Seymour. So he whips up a classic Saturday morning adventure MacGuffin, this time a tracker that can sniff out the weird chemical trail that Seymour's mutations leave behind. Meanwhile, we cut to Seymour hiding out in a dark alley. He's guilt-ridden. He's just sitting there like a sad Keanu Reeves when a cat approaches him. And he gently pets the cat, but of course, this is Mutagen Man, so the poor cat turns into Ice Cream Kitty. Just straight up Nickelodeon body horror. And Seymour is devastated. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. He just wants to be normal again. It's honestly kind of sad. A monster is terrified of his own touch. And that's when Mikey and the gang drop in from the turtle blimp, all heroic and optimistic. They tell Seymour they can fix him, that TCRI has got the tech, and they can even help reverse the other mutations he caused. And for a moment, Seymour looks relieved. But just as the turtles convince him to come for a cure, who shows up but Shredder on a flying platform with Akka and Man-Moth from the Pantheon. And they're ready to make their villainous sales pitch. Shredder tries to woo Seymour over to the dark side, promising power and wealth, you know, the whole usual shtick. But Mikey reminds him that Shredder already used him once. So Shredder does what Shredder does best. He goes from salesman to abductor in 0.5 seconds. He basically just says, fine, if you won't join me, I'll just take you by force. And that's our cue for the fight scene. So we just get a classic Ninja Turtles brawl where it does not go well for our heroes. Man-Moth just starts throwing the turtles around like they're bags of laundry. And in the end, the villains end up winning. Seymour gets captured and the turtles are down for the count. It also turns out that earlier, during the chaos, the worst possible thing has happened. Mikey accidentally brushed up against Mutagen Man. And so Michelangelo transforms into a grotesque fly-like Mune horror. It's a direct shout out to the Fly, and it's the perfect cliffhanger to end the issue on. I love this issue, and not just because it resurrected a super obscure character, but because it actually did something interesting with them. So for the last few issues, the Saturday Morning Adventure series has been fun, but just a little bit predictable. Lots of dream sequences and what-if one-shots that don't really move the needle or progress the plot in any way, and kind of just reusing the same villains over and over again. But this feels like a proper mini arc with emotional stakes and some genuine horror flavor baked in. Horror as in just, if you really think about it. I mean, it is a kid's comic, so it's not like really terrifying, but if you just really think about being a brain in a jar kind of situation, that's kind of horrifying. So yeah, Mutagen Man's first turning outward, making him dangerous to everyone he cares about, is a good twist, in my opinion. And I think the tone is perfect for Saturday Morning Adventures. It's bright and fun, but it's not afraid to lean into some genuinely creepy body horror. The art captures both the goofy energy of the cartoon and the creepiness of the mutations. Well, as creepy as you can make it for a series targeted towards little kids. So yeah, I think this is the start of a pretty fun arc. It feels like IDW remembering the weirdest parts of Ninja Turtles are also the most fun parts. So yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures continued. Issue number 30 was great, and it gets a recommend from me. It's got nostalgia, it's got horror, sort of, got heart, and it's got a touch of that 80s cheese, so perfect combo. But yeah, what did you guys think? Were you happy to see Mutagen Man return? Been like 34 years since we last seen him, at least this version. I know Mutagen Man has appeared in like the other series, but not as Seymour Gutz. It's been 34 years since we've seen Seymour Gutz. Were you happy to see him? And I would like to know which character from the OG cartoon would you like to see them bring back next? Because they've brought back some pretty obscure ones, but they have also kind of brought back the same ones over and over again. What are some obscure characters from the OG cartoon that they haven't brought back yet that you'd like to see? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.